Hello viewers, welcome to the Information Literacy class. In this module, we are going to look at how to access and retrieve information from online sources. We began this course with face-to-face interactions in which we looked at various aspects of online information and how we interact with computer systems to be able to retrieve, use, and share such information. I'm your electronic resources librarian. You can always contact me through my email, fhibo@uhas.edu.gh, or via WhatsApp through the contact provided. Also, I encourage you strongly to visit the library website, where we have populated a lot of resources through the OPAC, that is Online Public Access Catalog, and also particularly through the e-resources channels.
I want us to look at how exactly to conduct online searches. Now, searching of academic databases online comes in three distinct forms, or our behavior with looking for information. For example, there is what we call the basic search. If you look at the example we actually used in the OPAC that we just saw, that was a basic search. We just used a single keyword, cancer, to look for a material in the library. That is a basic or simple search. You enter a simple phrase or just one word, and then the results appear related to the word or phrase that you have entered. But there's also advanced or systematic search, in which you will have to combine more than one keyword, usually with the help of Boolean operators. We are going to look at the Boolean operators later. Operators like the AND, the OR, and the NOT. Now, pearl growing or snowballing is also a search technique that we actually use a lot, and most of us are not even conscious of it. Well, what it does is that once you read a particular material, you realize that material cites other materials, and so you follow in the references to discover other materials that actually speak to or support the opinions or whatever has been expressed in the particular article that you are currently reading. And that allows us to actually grow our database of literature that we actually download to support our own work. This actually thrives on two very important words that we use in library science. There's what we call bibliographic coupling, and also the phenomenon of co-citation, where you see that certain articles that you read cite some particular articles together, or you realize that the particular article that you are reading is being cited by some other articles. So that allows you to see what is the linkage between what you are reading now and these other articles. In fact, PubMed, for example, provides us such linkages. So you are reading on a particular topic in PubMed, and it tells you that they are related items. I think I have found this also in either Microsoft Academic or one of the discovery databases that allows you to actually explore linkages. I think even with the OK maps, that's open knowledge maps, if you use that to discover literature, you realize that it gives you connections to other relevant articles that are related to the particular one that you are actually reading. These are all pearl growing or snowballing strategies in conducting an online search. But very important in our behavior with online information is the fact that when we start to search with a particular question or query, we realize that we begin to obtain results that push us to focus our search terms in certain ways. For example, you may have entered a query that is too broad, and the results make you see that you need to rather find a real niche for your own research by applying more specific terminologies in the particular field that actually align with your thoughts. For example, I'll be showing you some little work that I did with one of your colleagues. I think her name was Ruth Anyakba. Yes, I remember. And she brought up a topic and wanted to know if it was appropriate and how to construct a search strategy. And so rather than just showing her around, okay, do this, use this Boolean and all of that, I decided to take her through a step-by-step process of how she will actually behave in an online environment. And the results will surprise you. It was interesting how we were able to actually find alternative terms for her own interest area of what she wanted to investigate. And unfortunately, we couldn't continue. I think she got swallowed up in the academic work and she didn't get back to complete the process. I'm sure she also already got the import of what I was trying to get her to understand. That is, in an online environment, it's not a straight line from one point to another. No, there are several iterations, there are several roadblocks when you are doing a search. Sometimes even the spellings of words that you are using, there are geographical variations such as American and British English and all of that. There are so many things that push you to construct and reconstruct your search queries and all of that in order to arrive at what exactly are the relevant results that you need for your own research. So it is not a straight forward thing. You will have to do some backs and forths with your own topic and question in order to arrive at the results during a literature search. So let's look, for example, at this. That you start by collecting background information, you get an overview on the topic. That will direct you to the most important issues and controversies within that field that you're trying to explore. And that helps to gain an understanding of how the topic area relates to other topics. Very interesting. I remember I was exploring a particular university website, and I was very surprised to see that university, I just forgot the name, I'll check my archives, requires that students who were selecting research topics should make sure that they make their research multidisciplinary. Yes, that is the real direction of research now. How we do not want any longer to just restrict ourselves to a particular area of knowing, because knowledge itself is not restricted to any particular area of discipline. There are medical issues that have social and cultural obstacles, and so if you want to address a particular issue, and I remember a very important story that the Vice Chancellor shared during I think the inaugural of Professor Margaret Osu-Japon. And the very interesting thing was he narrated how, as a very young doctor, he was in the northern regions of Ghana, and when they were trying to educate the local people on lymphatic filariasis, a particular man challenged their opinion with his belief that because he was sleeping in the same room with his brothers, was eating the same food with them, he did not understand how a mosquito, that small insect, could be the reason for his swollen leg. And the interesting thing was that the man said, okay, if it was caused by a mosquito indeed, then that mosquito must have been sent. Alright, so you can see how people's social and cultural beliefs, or even what we're going to call superstition, can affect health delivery or even health seeking behavior. You understand? So now we try to investigate any phenomenon at all from multiple disciplines in order to arrive at workable solutions for our society. And so when you are also trying to search the literature, you try and open your mind to various sources of information on your particular subject. It is therefore very important to start with tertiary sources where issues are quite abstract, where you get definitions and get to understand some of the general theories around the particular issue that you want to investigate. Then you narrow down, come down through secondary sources before you move into primary sources such as your own empirical data collection through interviews and all of that. That is actually the time-tested process for conducting your research. And we see that after reading these sources, you really get to focus your own topic. And at this stage, perhaps I should visit that work that I did with Ruth, and I believe I can see that. Let's see. I said earlier that I was going to demonstrate to you the use of a desktop search engine, the everything search. That's what I'm rolling right now. I want to see if I can get to Ruth Anyakpa's work. Very good, I think it's here. You can see this everything search, and so I'm using this to search my own computer for document. This was something I did in 2019. That was far away, March. That's over a year ago, and I couldn't actually remember the full name, but I remember the name of the student Anyakpa. So just type in his first sequence of letters. See that the material was able to, the software was able to pull out the various materials that actually have that sequence of letters. So this is what I want. Double click to get it, just to show you what I mean by how you get to start reading broadly on your topic in order to form opinion, in order to understand the issues and controversies. For example, in this work with Anyakpa, when she brought her subject up, what she was actually interested in investigating is what I put here as proposed topic. So we're working together, and she said changeover syndrome, problems of changeover in health facilities. Now, to be honest, when she brought this up in the first instance, I didn't understand what she meant by changeover syndrome. So I needed to ask her more questions about what do you mean, all of that. Now, so I decided to just let her conduct a simple Google search on what she means by changeover. Now, from the very many results, we picked this Wikipedia result, which seemed to match what she wanted actually to do. And in Wikipedia, it was called change of shift reports. So see how already the terminology has changed between what she was expecting and what Wikipedia was providing. So she says changeover, and Wikipedia says change of shift. But now, just reading a few lines under the Wikipedia definition, you can see that even the Wikipedia name of change of shift report has several other synonyms. It says other names for change of shift report include hand off, shift report, hand over, or sign out. Interestingly, you can see Ruth Anyakpa's change over doesn't even appear in any of these alternative terms for what exactly she wanted to investigate. Now, we went down to look at other references, including the one provided within Wikipedia. And you remember we mentioned a few minutes ago about pearl growing or snowballing. So yes, we came to Wikipedia to read briefly about this, but now we have found another reference within Wikipedia on the same subject, which caused us to trace and go and find this particular article. So now we have found two research articles. The first one was just an online encyclopedia that was a tertiary source, but now we have moved into a secondary information source. These are primary researches that have been done. And when you look, even just in the titles of these two research papers, the first one by Alvarado and co. says transforming shift hand over. So this set of authors use shift hand over as the term, their preferred term. Then when we look at Gross, the very item that was cited by Wikipedia, Gross uses handing off as their term. And so this led us to try and refine her topic. Now in that refinement, it means we're going to abandon our use of the word changeover because it doesn't look like it is a common or very well known term in the field. So you can see what I actually meant by when you orientate yourself, you actually read from the general to find an understanding and more clues about what you were thinking about, so that you can actually derive something more specific and which is technically sound and acceptable in your field. Very interesting in trying to narrow your subject area is also to guide yourself using what you call the 4W+H questions. Now, this model has been designed by this university. I think you have to try and mention the name yourself. I don't want to try it. Wageningen, I don't know. Sorry about the pronunciation. So they have developed these 4W+H questions. These actually help you to narrow your topic of focus, but also to know how to search for literature, so that these become the various aspects of your topic or research question that you discuss during your literature review, or that help you to find literature to support your view that you are trying to express, or the research that you are trying to conduct. So I give an example following the model given by the university library, and this topic actually came from my discussion with a friend who is a practicing nurse about an instance in their facility where, based on religious reasons, parents of a very young girl decided to refuse blood transfusion. And so I simply formulated this topic: religious and social influences on health-seeking behavior. And this is an exercise that I've given you in the slides, so as you have your individual presentations, you can try it yourself and see how you would create a mind map of your research focus. So a mind map, because that is how you think around the topic. For example, the 4 W's are the what, where, who, and why, and the H is how. So based on my proposed topic, what I have said is that you should, for the above example, drag each of the list examples on the right, the ones in the blue here. You drag each of these text boxes into the middle by the side of which of the questions on the left here that they actually answer. I hope you remember your basic or elementary school mathematics on mapping. So it's just about mapping. So for example, what health topics often generate religious and social debates? You look among these possible answers here and try to show me what health topics. For example, here we can see abortion and blood transfusion. They are topical issues that can generate religious and social debates. Where are religious and social perceptions of health most influential? Now, if you watch, you can see developing countries, Africa, Asia. And so you move this to the question number 2, as you move this also to question number 1. Now, who are most affected by religious and social restrictions on health interventions? Women, girls, children. So you can move this over to this place. Why does the government of Ghana promote religious neutrality and pluralism in the health sector? Why? So maybe international best practice or multiculturalism, whatever. We move that to here. Now, how do religious and social beliefs affect health-seeking behavior? Now, the effects of these issues on how people approach health interventions. So we can see that because of this religious and cultural background that people have, they rather resort to unsafe abortion that may lead to death of young girls, or sometimes the way the society actually evaluates or treats mental health may lead to malignant mental health issues. For example, we know that it's been reported among many communities in Ghana that people who are aged above 45, 50, 60, going to 80s are usually tagged as witches and whatever. So most of us, our grandmothers, have become witches. Now, this is because they begin to behave in ways that we find weird, and therefore they must be witches. But of course, there may be scientific explanations to such behaviors. Sometimes we understand that some of those behaviors are menopausal syndromes, whatever. As a science student, you will have to understand that this is why you need multidisciplinary approaches to thinking around problems, so you don't jump into conclusions about what you are seeing. So, for example, if we treat people who show any kind of different behavior in our society as mad people, and we resign them to their fate, it means we are never going to help them to overcome whatever challenges they are facing momentarily. Alright, now in developing a search strategy that is more about advanced searches, as I mentioned earlier, there is no start and end process as has been shown here. This is just to allow you to see the several stages that are involved in formulating a search strategy, but it does not mean that you're actually going to end here. In fact, before you can answer your question, you will have to repeat most of these blocks of actions, in fact, moving forward and backwards until you arrive at the final answer. So you ask questions. State your topic as a question, as we started with the examples that we just looked at. Then you find out yourself, is your question too broad or too narrow? So you define information need and you identify concepts. So what are the main concepts in your question? Usually these are noun phrases, and I'm going to show you in a jiffy how you can identify these. And then you select your terms. So for example, in the example that I showed you from your colleague students who visited me to try and navigate around her research concept or idea, you'll see that just by trying to find out about her idea of changeover in clinical facilities, we realized that within the field there were even more appropriate terminologies than the changeover that she selected. So you will have to look for the appropriate terms that are actually used in the field, because don't forget, you are trying to look for published materials, and the authors of these materials may have used terminologies different from what you are using. So you need the thesaurus or thesauri, you need your synonyms, you need even opposites, you need related, or you need all manner of, even when it comes to spellings. Remember I mentioned American, UK, then sometimes plural and all of that. These all help in how specific and relevant your results actually are returned to the query that you put in. Now, having selected your required or your preferred terms, you look for the sources. Here we try to ask ourselves, what kind of information do we want and where do we get it? Don't forget, Miss Aquanya and I started to look by making a Google search. We selected Wikipedia for a general understanding of the area. Then we saw specific things that were narrowing down on our concept, and we had to now go into secondary sources such as published research articles, and that gave us further proof that we needed to revise our terminologies. Then now we needed to construct our search using appropriate commands. So that's where the Boolean and co comes in. Look at stage number 7. It says, be prepared to revise and refine your search. Did I retrieve all information that I needed? You see, so that's why I said this is an iterative process. So you realize that you're always looking at whatever outcomes you get when you apply a particular search term or strategy. You have to revise the entire strategy. You can go back, start from the very beginning until you get all that you need on your topic. Then you retrieve the records in full text, you save, print, you cite or email. We're going to have a practical feel of all of these. Then evaluation, find out how good the information is. And I'll tell you one thing, I will not be taking you on evaluation of information sources. My other colleagues will. But one interesting thing is that evaluation is quite a complex thing for you to be able to decide on the value or make a value judgment or tell the credibility of a piece of information. It means that you must be at a certain level of mastery in the field. But for most of our undergraduates, I doubt so much how you will be able to tell what this particular author is saying is credible or not. And so that is why it serves our interest better if we use the credible sources of information as provided by our library, because the experts already evaluate before indexing these sources. And so searching through a science direct database or an F-school database or Emerald and all those, you are already sure that whatever you are going to get from these sources are actually quality assured. That is the reason why, to save yourself the stress of evaluating information, you must use academic databases. And once you are sure of your results, you now begin to use them. I have created a number of videos on how you can use Microsoft Word to do so many things. One of them that I'm going to create is how you can actually use these texts that you get from online sources and published articles within your own work that you are doing, particularly with regard to citation and references. Watch out for that. I'm going to actually produce it very soon. So just to revise and give examples of the steps involved, steps 1 to 4, for example, the first one says ask. So for example, what health problems are associated with water pollution? Then you define your need. What kind of information sources do you really want to look into? So you have scholarly primary research, that's fine. Now what are the main concepts? You look at the noun phrases: health, water pollution. Okay, or you can take water apart, then pollution apart. Now select terms. Here, what are the alternative terms? It could be broader terms, it could be narrower terms, it could be synonyms, whatever. For example, when you mention health, you see alternatives or related terms such as environmental degradation. You mention health, you see something like illness. You mention water pollution, it may come under environmental degradation or agricultural management and all of that, because water is available here. Then if you want synonyms, you pick your main words and see what alternative words could have been used by anyone who was actually writing on this. So health, for example, could go with illness, disease, etc. Water may come in other forms like rivers, lakes, sea, domestic water, etc. Then pollution, you might come across articles that talk about oil spills, chemical pollutions, biological toxicity of water, and all manner of things, even talking about aquatic life and all of that. Then what would be alternate spellings? Well, for water, health, and pollution, there are no alternate spellings, because both in American and British English, they retain the same spellings. Then plurals, you see that river could be rivers, lake could be lakes, and disease could be diseases. Then capitals, example, names of specific lakes like Volta, Bosumchi, Tanu, so that they may come with capital initial letters. Now, all these are part of the process in developing your search strategy. And you have to take a look at the information timeline to understand what we call tertiary, secondary, and primary. So, as I said from the very beginning, sometimes it is useful to start from a tertiary source, such as encyclopedia, dictionaries, tract compendia, reference books, and textbooks, where the information is more distilled and is quite sort of abstract and objective in its self. Then you look at the secondary which are interpretations of the primary original research. So you look at abstracting databases, you look at indexing services. PubMed, for example, provide a lot of bibliographies on these published articles, meta-analysis and reviews. These will all give you a secondary level information on your subject. Then of course, what about the primary sources? Sometimes the line between primary and secondary is not so thick. It can be very, very faint. For example, journal articles could as well be secondary. Okay, they could be secondary. Then you have case reports, correspondences, dissertations, clinical trial protocols, and all of that. These are all primary sources of information. Now, why do we select a particular source? For example, if you look at tertiary sources, they actually are easy to access, easy to use, and they are very concise, and relatively they are inexpensive. Now, the disadvantages, however, are that because they are trying to be more abstract and objective, one, they may be outdated information, they may contain incomplete information, and they may also have inaccurate or incorrect interpretations. Secondary sources are rapid to access, and they give you a direct link to the primary literature. Generally, they are high standard journals, and they allow you the ability to complexly search. For example, we make mention of simple or basic search, advanced using the Boolean operators and all of that. This is where databases come in. So database of journal articles and all of that, they allow complex searches. You have routine updates of selected topics. Yes, they also allow alerts. I'm sure if you try signing on to Science Direct or any of the Elsevier products, they'll be giving you alerts. The same with Mendeley. Mendeley does a very good work at giving you alerts. I think you can do the same thing in PubMed. Yes, if you create a PubMed account, that is my NCBI account, they also give you updates on current publications in your chosen field or topic of interest. But they also lack time, and you actually need to learn the index terms. Every one of these databases actually uses their own preferred vocabulary or control vocabulary. And so, for example, while PubMed may prefer a term like carcinomas for cancers, maybe in an EBSCO database, carcinoma may not be their preferred term. They may prefer to use the word cancer itself, or maybe lesions, or whatever it is, you see. So, for each of the databases, you might have to learn the control vocabulary yourself. What about primary sources? And of course, let's not forget to mention that these secondary sources can be very expensive. In fact, sometimes an article may cost you about $150. That is a lot of money if you convert to Ghana cedis. Okay. Now, how about primary sources? They give you original data, that is your field data, empirical data you are collecting, and sometimes you can be lucky to have unbiased information. But the disadvantages will be that, well, these will be large volumes of data you are collecting that you will have to try and meander your way through, trying to, narrow down, find your key concepts and trace patterns of meaning that you can actually summarize later as your research outputs and discuss them within the context of established theories or research questions and objectives. So let's just have a feel of how a search is constructed. For example, we have the question, is aspirin effective in preventing a future heart attack in the elderly? That's our question, so we want to find out. Now, if you watch, the main concepts that you can identify in this question, or the noun phrases, are aspirin. Preventing here can stand for prevention. A heart attack stands out. The elderly. These are the main concepts, about 4 of them. So our concept 1 is aspirin. Concept 2, prevention. Concept 3, heart attack. And concept 4, elderly. Now, from the strategy we have learned, it means we need to find out, are there any other terms by which authors may refer to these concepts? Yes, of course. So aspirin may be referred to as platelet aggregation inhibitors. Now we have placed this the truncation symbol, the $sign here, just to show that there may be other derivatives. For example, aspirin here may be aspirins, and inhibitor here may be inhibitors. Whatever anybody uses, this system should be able to retrieve it. So we use this symbol here. It could be asterisk or the $sign, just to show that there may be a plural form, or there may be an extension or an inflection on this particular word that we have used. Then what about prevention? We know that usually prevention and control go hand in hand or side by side, and so, well, somebody may use control, somebody may use the word prevention. They all come to the same thing that we are looking for. What about heart attack? Again, we use the truncation symbol here to indicate to the retrieval system that this heart attack could actually be heart attacks by anyone else, and myocardial infarction, whatever it is that anybody might want to use at the end here, is catered to by the use of the truncation symbol. Then what about the elderly? Yes, we could have a synonym such as aged. So in someone else's article, he may say the aged instead of the elderly. Now, having gone through this whole process of finding alternative words and even spellings and all of that, we are set to construct our search query. But be mindful of the numbers that I have used to bullet these points, and observe that aspirin, which is 1, and platelet aggregation inhibitor, which is 2, are synonyms, or they are related terms. And so because of that, they form what you call a concept set. Concept sets are usually enclosed in brackets, and the Boolean operator OR is used to connect them, which means take for me or retrieve for me documents that use this term aspirin, or instead of aspirin use this term platelet aggregation inhibitors. Take for me documents that use the term prevention or the term control. Now we all know what the OR operator does. It will bring every material that has the word prevention and every material that has the word control and every material that has both prevention and control in them. So it is one that explodes your search. That is why it is best fit to use between synonyms, so that either terms or both may occur together. Now, the same happens for all the other terms. We all the related terms or the synonyms, and they must all be put in brackets. So now, having all these, in now writing our final search query or search term, we simply say number 9, which is what? Aspirin or platelet aggregation inhibitors. Put in brackets. AND. Now this AND is the Boolean operator AND. When you use AND, we are restricting the system to bring only documents in which both terms between which we use the AND term occur. So for example, there must be documents in which aspirin or platelet aggregation inhibitors, prevention or control, heart attack or myocardial infarct, elderly or aged, all occur together. That is the meaning of the use of the AND. And so I've given a short notice that when searching, enter one term or phrase at a time. Keep terms in separate concept sets. Combine such terms with OR first, then with AND. That's what I said, that you should make sure these are put in brackets. So aspirin or platelet aggregation inhibitors should be in brackets. Then you put the AND between them, open another bracket, prevention or control. Don't forget, you must keep your Boolean operators in uppercase all the time, because that is what makes your search engine understand that you are using a Boolean logic.